So today I stand here to let you all know in this journey there are people who have helped me to be what I am today. And the time which I would be given to mention all this might not be enough. Nevertheless, whatever time it takes, I think it's my duty and responsibility, looking at the children here whom I think should know what it really takes to achieve or to be recognized someone or to be someone in your life. I will start off with my family, and at the age of about 4 years, I remember my father had a friend, we had a family friend called Mr. Abu Ford, who was, I think at the time, was involved with the cricket board, used to come and visit us at home. And outside in the garden, I used to have a plastic bat and a ball, which my father had bought, and I used to knock around. And when he saw, or when he had seen me in action, he had mentioned to my father that you should continue to encourage him to play cricket, that he's got so much of potential. And my father obviously would have taken it seriously and took me to watch most of the international matches, for which Mr. Abu Ford used to send us tickets. And I used to go and watch those matches, and I remember as a very young little boy watching the West Indies match against Sri Lanka, and there was my hero, who was Viv Richards at the time. And during the 1975 and 79 World Cups, especially the 1975 World Cup, the West Indies team was one of my favorite teams, and obviously Viv Richards, who was my hero, was playing in that match. And I remember we didn't have television at the time. We had a little transistor pocket radio, and I used to put that radio on and keep it on a side. And I had a little golf ball and a ruler which I used to have, that was an 18-inch steel ruler. And I remember every time the commentary said Viv Richards played such a shot, I used to hit the golf ball against the wall and replay that shot with the ruler. And why I am saying this is because, and then even on the field, I remember him getting a couple of runouts, and I remember hitting the ball, picking up the golf ball and hitting one of those trees with the golf ball to make that direct run out. So these things, why I mention, is for the younger generation to understand, if not for the passion in doing something, you will never achieve what you want to achieve. I think the only thing which will drive you to success, one most important thing, is passion. I know along the way you will find out that it needs a lot of encouragement, lot of sacrifice, lot of hard work to be able to get to the highest level. But for this to happen, you need guidance. And the guidance starts from home. And I must say, I was privileged and very lucky to have that guidance from a very, very young age with my family. And also, when I started playing cricket, I can't forget how I came to D.S. Seranayaka. I think this also needs to be mentioned. My father, we were we were living in Mount Lavinia. So my father went to St. Thomas's to try and see whether he could admit me to St. Thomas's at that time. And the school said that they can't accommodate me, and they rejected me from St. Thomas's. And then my father moved me to a few schools, a couple of days to a school in Vellavatta, and then a week later, I think, to Isipathana, must have been for a few days before he met my beloved guru, late Mr. R.I.T. Alas. He's not only been my guru, but he's been my second father, and that whole family has been also my second family. That's why I was very keen that at least one representative from the family was going to be here today, because Harsha unfortunately said that he had to rush to Kandy and won't be able to make it. But today, I think a lot of the credit should go to Mr. R.I.T. Alas, for the simple reason he laid the foundation at this institution to be able to recognize talent and give that talent the opportunity, and to be able to support that. Without any interferences from, we didn't have any old boys at the time, but any parents. As I said, as Channa mentioned, my father was the president of the PTA, but didn't really make that to be any sort of benefit for me. In fact, it was worse, because every time I got late to school, because I remember we used to line up there, and anyone who got late after 7:30, and thanks to my sister most of the time who gets late to leave home, I sometimes get to the school by 7:35 or 7:40 after dropping her. So when we get to the gate by 7:35, we are being lined up, and we have to go to the principal's office for a punishment. So the punishment would be, if it is within the first 5 minutes, you get one caning, and if it is more than 5 minutes, we tend to get double that. So invariably what happened was, because my father was the president of the Parent Teachers Association and his close friend, always, if it was below 5 minutes, I used to get 2 canings, and if it was more than 5 minutes, I used to get 4 canings. So the punishment was always double. And I am really not lying, and this was the way every time before he caned me, this is what he used to tell me. And that laid the foundation for me when I started playing cricket. Like Channa said, I used to hang around here until my father finished all the meetings, and I used to stay outside the boundary line and pick up the balls and throw. So along the way, he got 2 of the best, very best coaches to support our cricket, and that was one, Mr. Arvinda Silva and Mr. Charlie Varnakula Surya. And at the time, they were the 2 coaches in the national team of Sri Lanka. So the advantage I had was at the tender age of 8 or 9 years when I started playing under 12 cricket. I knew exactly what was required at the international level, and we were working on techniques and things which the national side was doing at a very, very tender age. And that was one reason why I matured that much quicker and was able to match some of the international players at a very, very young age. And it allowed me to carry on with more experience, though we didn't have that much cricket at the time at international level. That allowed me to understand and learn that much quicker, to prosper and play and have a career which lasted 20 years. And as we went along, then came Mr. P.W. Pereira, whom I can't forget. And he was in charge of the senior teams and the first 11 team. And we had a first 11 team put out for the first time. And he said, he saw me playing and told Mr. Alice that he would like to have me in the first 11 team. And Mr. Alice had a chat with Mr. Van Silva and Charlie Varnakula Surya, and they were a bit concerned to let me play in the first 11 team, and wanted to find out from my father whether it's okay. And my father told me at a later stage, when they asked me, I had to say, it's up to you all, it's not my decision. And at that moment, Mr. Walter Pereira insisted that I play in the first 11. And that again gave me that opportunity to play alongside of players like Siriparan, who was my captain, and had unbelievable talent. And today, standing here, I can promise you that Siriparan was much more talented than me. And it's very, very unfortunate that this school and the country lost his services due to his posting in the north at that time in the Navy. So immediately after that, this little ground where we used to practice gave us a lot of opportunity. And like I said, Siriparan against St. Thomas's, I remember going and watching that game because it was the first time we played St. Thomas's, because those days we never used to get fixtures with the main schools. But Channa mentioned that we haven't still beaten them. I'm sure St. Thomas's probably must be reluctant to give us any fixtures after that loss. But jokes apart, I think in that particular match, Siriparan was supposed to attend another event as the band leader, and we were given a target which was very, very tough to achieve by the Thomians in the last 15 overs. So Mr. Alice got into his car, his personal vehicle, and drove to that event and because in the first couple of days, first day Siriparan played and he had to go and attend this event. So went to that event, put Siriparan in the car, handed over the band leadership to someone else and brought him there to bat for those 15 overs, which he went out there and massacred the entire St. Thomas's bowling attack, and we won that first game in that year. So I think that was the kind of commitment he had towards the school. So now I go a lot further to the selection of the under-19 team. And I remember I went for these under-19 practices. And some of these examples I am saying because I think these are things which will help you kids as well for the future. We had the selections at the NCC. And this was just before the April holidays, there was a team which was supposed to come down from Australia to play some games against the under-19 team. And I can't remember the selectors at the time, but I remember very well I was left out of that squad to play against this Australian Melbourne Cavaliers team. So I was very sad. I was waiting there. My father came to pick me up. And I said that I was not being picked to play against the Melbourne Cavaliers. And the encouraging words I heard was, he said, don't worry. Because I used to love those faludas those days. He said, let's go and have a faluda at Majestic Hotel. And then he said, why don't you go with Lakshman, one of my classmates, to Nuwara for the holidays and enjoy your holiday and forget about what has happened. So I think those words were very, very encouraging because it's not normally what a parent would say, would get upset and say to the child, see, they should have picked you or given me the wrong impression about the selection. He never said that. But he said, not to worry, you just go and enjoy it, your holiday. So Lakshman's father drove us all the way to Nuwara. And those days we didn't have mobile phones, but as soon as we got to Nuwara, we got a call at that time from my father. There was a message to say that the board has called and said that one of the players were injured or not well, and for me to be available for the match. So it was the very next day, so it was very, very difficult because it took about 6 hours to drive to Nuwara those days. So we drove all the way there, and then Uncle Janasekaram, I still remember, and I must remind this, he said, if this opportunity is there, we need to go back, cancel our holiday. So poor Lakshman also had to cancel his holiday. We had dinner and we drove back for another 6 hours. We got back to Colombo at about 5 o'clock and I slept right through in the car and went and played that match. And I was the highest scorer and man of the match in that game, which actually gave the start to my career. So here what I'm trying to encourage and tell these Mallis are that never get discouraged when you are left out of a team. You will always get an opportunity. And when that opportunity comes, you've got to keep trying, and that's all you can give at any time. Because that is what perseverance means, and unless you do that, you'll never be able to achieve great heights as you wish to achieve. So after that, I have to skip a lot of years to talk about various people. And then came the national team, and as I said, Mr. Ranjit Fernando took me under his wing and wanted me to come and play at NCC at a very young age when the principal, other schools didn't allow any other youngsters to play, but got special permission and allowed me as long as Mr. Ranjit Fernando looked after me and reported to Mr. Alas and my father on a regular basis. So that gave me another opportunity to be able to get there. And in school, like I said, there were a lot of teachers who gave me a lot of encouragement. My classmates, every time I used to miss my lessons, they had to sit and write my notes, and some wrote notes on their book as well as mine at the time, and I thank them so much for their support. And my teachers who used to have extra classes to cover up for my lessons which were missed, they used to come home and do maths, one of my favorite subjects at the time. So I want to remind and thank them very much. Some of them are not living today, but my love and memory goes to all of them. Then at the school level, Channa spoke about Nicholas, our groundsman, and we had plenty of others who used to help at the grounds. And I can't forget his contribution at all times, because they would tirelessly support to make sure that we had the best of the facilities for our training and our matches. Then at the national level, as I said, we went to the World Cup, and there was a friend of mine who said that he didn't tell me, but when I was in Lahore, just about to go to sleep, there was a flight which was chartered out of Sri Lanka, and at about 9 o'clock in the night, I hear someone knocking on the door, and I open the door, and whom do I see? My father and Mr. Alas. I think when I saw them before the final, I must say it really inspired me at that moment. And I must thank Mr. Ajit Dias, who actually didn't even tell anyone. He bought 2 tickets for both of them and brought them to the match. And they were looking for a place to sleep that night. And I told them they can come and sleep in the room if they wish to. And then in the morning of the match, I was able to do my normal ritual of worshipping both of them and going to the match, which was very, very encouraging. Now, my mother must be wondering why I'm not mentioning anything about her, but I must say she was one person who was always against me playing cricket. So, but I must, without doing my studies, but I must thank you, Amma, for pushing me to do my studies, which also helped me in my progress. And thank you very much for you and Akka for all the support you've extended. And my wife, who's been a pillar of strength, always been very, very supportive with my kids, not putting any pressure on me to do things, but puts all the pressure on the children to study and work hard. But I think that is what the parents can do, is to push them, support them and encourage them, but never ever go and push the coaches or teachers to give them certain positions, or maybe in the team, if parents try to push themselves to push a child to be selected, I think that is the biggest harm you will be doing to that child. And I can stand here without any doubt and say that because my parents didn't do that, today sometimes I feel ought to even go and help some of the schools where my children are playing cricket. I don't want to go and even be part of that coaching, because otherwise they will feel that they've been favored and that's why they're in the team. And very, very fortunately, my children also doesn't like even if I go and talk to a master in charge or a coach at a ground when I go to watch them play cricket. So after all that, I just want to shorten my speech and not talk too much now. Then my school requested me to come and help with the cricket here. And I was very happy to do so. And I said, when I heard that the coach, Mr. Kirti Gunaratna, who has been appointed recently, I had a chat with him to find out what exactly he needed. So he said he needs some equipment from the cricket board, which normally is supported for most of the schools. I called them, and in fact on my way here also I checked to see whether most of those have been given, but they were told, I was told that there was only one thing which had been fulfilled and not the rest. But they said they will definitely provide all that by end of February or March next year, that some of them are on order. But at the same time, when I asked, he mentioned that the contributions are done by the parents and some of the parents to keep cricket going. And I don't think that is a good thing. So what I told the principal also was to make a budget for the entire year and pass on that budget to the old boys and to me, where there are a lot of people in this school, old boys, right around the world, who are willing to help. And I've told them that I can come and do an event in Australia, England, and I've sent the details to them. As long as there's accountability for whatever they contribute, there is no problem to raise whatever funds you all need to develop the sport. And I just called one of my classmates in Australia to say that I'm coming in April to organize an event, that I will be there. He said, even before the event, it will take too long. So he asked me, when does the season start? I said, the season is already started. So he said, don't wait till then. I will make a contribution from my side. His name is Keshava Edrisingha. He said, make sure that when you come, we will organize and make it a big event. And then I spoke to Lakshman. Lakshman also said, why wait till then? Why don't we make a contribution and give it to them now? And along with me, the three of us want to kickstart this program for the school development of cricket. But please make sure that whatever you receive, the funds, you have to make sure that you are accountable and they are kept informed as to what you have been spending it on, and individually send them receipts, because out of the budget you all have forwarded to me, I managed to raise already 40% between 3 people. So I am saying So what I'm saying is today, to make sure that we get the support of our old boys in the right way, right manner, and the sky is the limit. So please make sure that whatever we receive, we are accountable for it. And that is the only way you can grow that fund from now on. And I'm sure with all that support, I would like to wish the future generation and these Mallis all the very best, and keep this Sri Lanka flag flying, because through sport sometimes you learn much more than what you learn in a classroom, and that will help us to develop and build leaders for this country, institutions, and the world. So please be focused, work hard with passion, and love especially, because these children will learn through mistakes, and teachers, parents, everyone will have to remember that we have all got here making mistakes, and the mistakes are common to every child, and that learning process is only changed through the mistakes, and we have to try and correct them at that point, and not to punish them, but to let them understand and make them better people for the future and the society. And I wish the school all the very best, and also the children, parents, teachers, and my principal to be able to be successful, and the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. Thank you very much.
You're watching the Lifetraveler channel.